So Dana White has come out yesterday and made some comments about Francis Ngannou's recent move to the PFL, and he has absolutely trashed the PFL, and he has absolutely trashed Francis Ngannou. Contrary to what he said later on in the video, that he wasn't actually trashing the PFL, it wasn't consistent with what he said when he was asked by a reporter what he thought about the move to the PFL throughout that whole exchange. So as we know, Dana White, this is pretty typical of him talking through both sides of his mouth. So I wasn't exactly shocked to see him trash the PFL and Francis Ngannou like this. And he made some comments that were just flat out wrong and inaccurate, and we're going to go over those today. So within the interview, he did say that the PFL is going to, pay Francis Ngannou to sit on the sidelines and pursue a boxing fight. Now, they're not paying Francis Ngannou to sit on the sidelines. Now, as Francis Ngannou has already stated, the PFL need time to organise an opponent for Francis Ngannou. That's why his first fight isn't going to be until next year. So it just goes to show how little Dana White knows about the subject. And in very typical Dana White fashion, given the opportunity, he will absolutely trash his former fighters, and he'll absolutely trash any other organisation. So it's in absolutely poor taste, but as we know, this is very typical of Dana White. And I hate to break it to you, Dana White, they're not paying Francis Ngannou to sit on the sidelines. Unlike the rest of the UFC roster who don't have much control over their future, Francis Ngannou has secured one of the best deals in MMA history. Now, granted, he might not be earning the most money, but the amount of freedom that he got from this contract is unrivaled, and I think it's going to absolutely change the game. Francis Ngannou is actually an independent contractor. All of the current UFC fighters, they can't get their own sponsors on their shorts, they can't fight for any other organization or pursue other interests outside the UFC. And this is just the way Dana White likes it. Not to mention the absolutely abysmal pay that a lot of these fighters earn. I'm not sure if many people are aware, but the UFC fighters do not earn much money at all. Unless you're a top star or a current champion, you're really a lot of the time struggling to get by, which is not good enough for a professional organization with professional athletes that compete at this level. And he continued to go on in the interview and said that Francis Ngannou doesn't want to take any chances, and that he clearly didn't want to take any chances against Jon Jones. Now, this is absolute BS. As we know, they were in contract negotiations, and it wasn't necessarily to do with the money for Francis. He wanted more freedom, and he got the deal that he wanted. He got that freedom with the PFL, and Dana White is just absolutely salty about that. I love watching Dana White crack the shits. I'll be honest with you. Watching him spout absolute BS can be quite entertaining at times, but I don't appreciate the way he disrespects his former fighters. And it's not very good business him talking crap about them. And he went on to say how Jon Jones manhandled Cyril Gane, and the same thing would have happened to Francis Ngannou. As we know, this is BS, because we're just going to post a quick video now of Dana White's comments after Francis Ngannou secured a victory. And at this time, Jon Jones was considering a move up to heavyweight. So let's just have a quick look here at how Dana White consistently talks through both sides of his mouth.
Man, the idea of a Jon Jones fight seems awfully exciting right now. And Jon came out, tweeted, said, "Show me the money." What appeals to you most? Because it seems like that would be an amazing super fight.
If I'm Jon Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start moving to 85.
You think that's a fight that you'd like to put together next? I mean, I know we don't matchmake, but that sure does seem exciting.
Listen, I can sit here all day and tell you, what show me the money mean? I tell you guys this all the time. If you can say you want to fight somebody, but do you really want to?
Well, Dana, for someone that doesn't talk a lot of trash about other organizations that treat you fairly, you sure are talking a lot of crap about the PFL. If you don't know, the PFL are looking to buy out Bellator, and they're looking to strengthen their balance sheet so that they can bring over more talent. And he went in to say how this is not necessarily a smart business decision for those that are looking to lend the PFL this money. Now, this might be true, but I don't think you can deny that the PFL is absolutely going for it by buying out Bellator, by signing Francis Ngannou, by signing Jake Paul. And the way they've set up this contract with Francis, where his opponent will get guaranteed $2 million, is an absolutely genius move by the PFL. So Dana definitely isn't being objective here when he looks at the incentives that the PFL have put in place for other fighters to come to the organization. I mean, not even in the UFC can you get a guaranteed $2 million to be facing someone. And the PFL have put this into place, and I think that is an absolute genius move. Will they go out of business? I mean, time will tell, but it's really good to be seeing them making these moves. But of course, Dana White seeing the opportunity to absolutely trash their business decisions, and he took it. And I find it quite funny that he's saying that, that's not what we do here. We don't do any gimmicks. Yet he's got the Power Slap League at the moment, which is an absolute gimmick, isn't even a competitive sport, and he's just barbaric. So I find it quite funny from Dana White. What do you guys think of the recent comments that he's made here? Are you actually surprised by any of this? Because I'm not really. This is typical Dana White fashion. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, the Francis Ngannou deal is going to be good for mixed martial arts and the sport as a whole. As we know, UFC has an absolute monopoly at the moment. The UFC fighters aren't treated fairly. They aren't treated like other professional athletes in other sports. So I think this is ultimately going to let the fighters know that, hey, you do have a bit more negotiation power than what you think. There are other organizations out there other than the UFC that you might be able to get a bit better deal from. So congratulations to Francis Ngannou. Dana White, you can absolutely pound sand. And I look forward to seeing what the PFL can do here with Francis Ngannou. I look forward to seeing how this all turns out. Now, if you guys are interested in this sort of content, please feel free to check out the newsletter in the description below. So if anything does happen to the YouTube channel, I'll still be able to reach you guys. And feel free to hit subscribe, but only if you are interested in the latest MMA news. Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone, and I'll catch you all later.